What's so special about Dr. Mozart? For one thing, Dr. Mozart is fun. Kids like that. So they get more involved, and they learn better. But that's not all. Besides being fun, Dr. Mozart also teaches music theory in depth. This means that Dr. Mozart workbooks explain details and offer insights not found at all in most theory workbooks. The goal is to help children attain a deep understanding of music theory concepts, not just mechanical procedures. This approach helps kids excel with such difficult topics as intervals, chords, accidentals, and key signatures in subsequent workbooks. Students who understand music theory concepts in depth are typically more able to apply their knowledge in new situations. They have a better foundation for progress on their musical instrument, and they are better prepared to learn more advanced music theory skills, such as how to harmonize melodies and how to change keys. The first Dr. Mozart workbook starts by helping young music students explore the keyboard. The keys are discovered one at a time. Initially, some keys are colored. This aids recognition and highlights the way each note repeats across the keyboard. Students are asked not only to name the keys, but to trace them too. This helps them take notice of the keyboard pattern in detail. This keyboard-oriented approach is helpful not just for piano students, but for children studying any musical instrument or voice. After all, the keyboard is the best way to illustrate how sharp and flat notes are named. It is the best way to illustrate how the notes of various scales are related to each other. Once all the white keys have been explored in detail, students are ready to learn about staff notation. But many students find staff notation inherently more abstract and challenging. That's why Dr. Mozart initially explains the staff by making an analogy to tangible objects that are already familiar to students at any age. Here, birds resting higher on the ladder sing higher. Then they leave their nests and their eggs are transformed into line notes and space notes. Thus, familiar, tangible items are used to explain the abstract concept of staff notation. This page uses a turtle and a frog to introduce the concept of intervals as skips and steps on the keyboard. Here, students learn what skips and steps look like on the staff. Of course, students get plenty of practice applying the concepts they have learned. Many music theory workbooks first introduce the treble staff, and then introduce the bass staff. In contrast, Dr. Mozart first introduces middle C, initially in the context of the keyboard, and then in the context of the grand staff. This gives students a better understanding of exactly where middle C is from the outset. Here is middle C in the grand staff. The bird represents the treble staff, and the dog represents the bass staff. Note that the illustrations are not only appealing but relevant as well, so that they serve as effective memory aids. And in many cases they are repeated in subsequent lessons when students need to recall what they previously learned. Here, students are taught how to write a bass clef. The bass clef is taught first because it is easier. Notice how the instructions are both colorful and detailed. Unlike some other music theory workbooks, Dr. Mozart explains each clef in the context of the special staff line that it points to. So the F line is highlighted here because that is the line marked by the bass clef, and the G line is highlighted because that is the line marked by the treble clef. From the start, students are made aware of the alternate names for these clefs, the F clef and the G clef. Next, middle C's immediate neighbors are introduced using an analogy that is both entertaining and memorable. B is like a bubble below middle C, and D is like a drip ready to fall on middle C from above. Since the F and G lines have already been explained, students are now ready to learn about the F and G notes. As is shown here, students are often asked to draw lines from the staff to the keyboard. Landmark notes can help students orient themselves on the staff quickly, so they don't always have to count up or down from middle C. Here, two new landmark notes are introduced. They are the C's above and below middle C. Accompanying this lesson are two C-shaped character illustrations that make the lesson more fun and memorable. Students at this level are not yet ready to study chords in depth, but even a superficial awareness of chords can be helpful, as simple chords often appear in early piano books. Students will find a very detailed study of chords and intervals in subsequent Dr. Mozart Music Theory workbooks. Some abstract concepts in music notation are so familiar to music teachers that we can sometimes take them for granted. But for children unfamiliar with music notation, abstract concepts such as measures and bar lines may not at first seem to have a clear meaning. This illustration solves that problem. It shows that measures are like fields separated by fences, which in turn are equivalent to bar lines. Fields are separated by fences, measures are separated by bar lines. Also challenging for many children is the abstract concept of musical time and how it is shared by notes of various lengths. To introduce the concept of musical time, an analogy is made to chocolate bars and how they can be divided and shared among friends. Chocolate bars, like ladders, are tangible items with which most children already have experience. On the following page, quarter notes and half notes are studied in greater detail. They are explained in terms that children can readily understand. Quarter notes are like walking, while half notes are like slow skating. The final few pages of each book are devoted to review. As always, mindless repetition is avoided. Instead, the exercises encourage students to acquire a deep understanding of music theory. To ensure that each student gets the praise that all young children thrive on, every Dr. Mozart Music Theory workbook rewards young students for their effort with a colorful certificate of achievement. Dr. Mozart workbooks also typically include a brief summary of everything students have learned. This encourages them to take pride in their accomplishment after completing each workbook. Many thousands of hours have been devoted to creating Dr. Mozart Music Theory workbooks. The sole purpose of these colorful workbooks is to help your students and your children be their very best. Dr. Mozart Music Theory workbooks are not just fun. They also teach music theory in depth for truly superior results that will make you and your young ones proud. We wish you every success in using them. Thank you.